Women of Reddit, what's your cringy nice guy story? Oh geez, I went to school with a nice guy, neckbeard, anime katana sword wielding, I am very badass kinda guy. He would talk about how girls only like the big jock guys and how they neglect the smart intellectuals like him. He also talked about how he was waiting for a girl to be smart enough and good enough for him, which doesn't make any sense at all, but okay. He weighed about 90 pounds, had vampire pale skin and bleach blonde hair which he wore at an awkward too long in the front length so it could cover his eyes. He started hanging around where I would eat lunch my freshman year of high school. No one wanted him around, but we were nice and we would just smile. Anyway, neckbeard would get way too close to me, making up reasons to touch me. I am really short, so he would set his arm on my head, grab my shoulders just awkward and wanted touching. So I told him to hey maybe don't touch me. He did not get the message. In fact, the not so sly hair smelling weird touching increased and I said zip cause I was shy. Well, he got my number from one of my friends and started sending me those creepy asterisk messages. Example, hey good looking, walks over to you and puts arm around you, I missed you, runs hand over your soft hair, hugs you, feeling your nice boobs press against my strong, manly chest. I didn't respond, and they just got worse and worse. He sent me a shirtless photo that nearly blinded me. I texted him, telling him what he was doing was making me uncomfortable, but that didn't stop him. He started asterisk texting me about how he was gonna rape me, and how I was gonna call him daddy, and like it. I learned how to block someone on Verizon that day. I never told anyone about it. I had to go to 4 years of high school with this kid getting too close, making me so uncomfortable. TLDR. Nice guy neckbeard won't stop sexually harassing me at school. Sends me texts about how he's gonna rape me. I block him. He still tries to hang around me at school. High school sucked. He sent me a shirtless photo that nearly blinded me. This is a really scary experience and I'm so sorry you were threatened like that. But this line made me laugh so hard. That's a legit threat. Report that shit. I'm a girl, but this story is about my husband and how he caught the bad end of a nice guy. A few years before I met my husband, he decided to go to a party. He gets there and some random girl walks up to him, says you're cute and kisses him. This amused him, so he started chatting with her. While chatting, he notices a very angry, short man standing next to her. The man is scowling at my husband and it's making him uncomfortable. He can tell the guy is pissed at the attention girl is giving him, and it's just not worth it, so he stops talking to random girl, turns away, and starts walking to another room. It's at this point husband feels short man punch him in the back. When he turns around, short man is running away and actually runs out of the house and never returns to the party. Husband laughs it off, cause it wasn't even a hard punch. But then somebody notices husband is bleeding, and there is a hole in his shirt. The short fucker hadn't punched him, he stabbed him. Random girl saw this all go down and was pretty mortified. Turns out the short dude was obsessed with her. They were best friends, and he accompanied her everywhere. The knife was pretty small, so it didn't do any real damage, but he still has the scar. Edit. Okay, so this blew up while I was sleeping. A lot of people are wondering about what happened, so I finally have a moment to write up the outcome to all this. Somebody did call an ambulance. Ambulance showed up, but my husband refused to go to the hospital. He didn't want to stop partying nor pay for an ambulance ride. Plus it didn't hurt that much and he felt fine. Instead, him and a friend gauzed it up and he continued to party. Mind you, in my husband's drunken stupor he is finding this whole thing hilarious. Actually, he still finds it hilarious. When he woke up the next day he was in a bit of pain and realized he should get it checked out. So he marched down to the hospital, got checked out and fixed up, and went home. At no point did he encounter the police, so he never reported it. I had a date with a guy I met through OkCupid. When he found out that I was, at the time, writing erotica for a living, he put his hand very gently on mine and asked, with all the sincerity in the world, "Who hurt you?" "No one hurt me, guy. I got paid money to write stories about people dicking each other, and I had a whale of a time." He absolutely would not believe that I enjoyed my job. and that I wasn't lashing out as a result of some obvious sexual trauma I'd had in my past that he could somehow save me from. God only knows how actual sex workers cope on dates, if that's a common approach to people who aren't terrified to openly discuss penises. There was no second date. I'd forgotten about this until I read this thread. Like a lot of these stories, I've had more than my fair share of nice guys. TM. But this guy was definitely the worst. This guy messaged me on OkCupid. He was 62. Not necessarily a deal breaker, except I was 20 and he was a dozen years older than my parents. I said thanks but no thanks. I was uncomfortable with that much of an age difference. Good luck out there. He flipped. Non-stop messages vacillating between how I would regret this, wheedling, compliments and apologies, and call me a whore, a slut, a blue baller, etc. Literally dozens upon dozens of messages a day. He was a lawyer. He had ways of making me regret this. I would never do as good as him. No other man would treat me so well, and I'm a whore if I say no. On and on. This was many years ago. At the time, you could report someone for harassment on OkCupid, but it didn't stop that person from messaging you. Finally, I told him I would meet him in the city, at a popular college bookstore, at 2 p.m. Wouldn't you know it, I somehow forgot to go. After another day or two of berating for standing him up, he got the hint and disappeared. Edit. I definitely should have phrased that better. Older than me was not a deal breaker, but, especially when I was 20, I limited age difference to in the same decade. This guy called me ageist a lot, as if it would change my mind. Now that I'm a 30-year-old spinster, I've relaxed my ageist ways, but 62 would still be a deal breaker. I met a guy one night after a night out, exchanged numbers. He was handsome, seemed normal. We met for dinner, and I was surprised when he brought flowers and a bottle of wine, as it was our first date and we knew nothing about each other yet. Throughout dinner, I noticed that he would ask questions, but not listen to my answers. He seemed in his own world, as if he was preparing his next question. Very robotic. He mentioned that his sister was out of town and he was house sitting for her in the building a few blocks away. Okay, even though he weirded me out a bit, I was young and still felt like things were going fairly well. Anyways, when we left, he was walking me to my car. I was wearing heels, and as such, felt comfortable holding onto the crook of his arm for support as we walked. As we walked, he tried to persuade me to come into the apt building that he was supposedly house sitting. We'll go up to the rooftop, he said. Best view in Hollywood, which was the clincher for me, because it was so corny, and also so creepy. I kept saying no, I have to get up early, etc. When we got next to the building, he tightens his grip on me and said, "What's your problem?" His facade dropped and he looked scary and angry. "I bought you flowers. I brought wine. I paid for dinner." As if he was checking off ABC is supposed to equal D. Then, we were having fun when we end was pulling me towards the door and twisting my arm. I pulled away from him and literally ran to my car and pulled off. I have no doubt he would have raped worse me if I hadn't. I know this is beyond nice guys, but the way he felt that he had systematically performed his steps and earned more from me, the horror stays with me. TLDR. First date with a normal seeming, handsome guy who seemed to think if he robotically went through the steps of a successful first date, that I owed him to be forced into an apt building, and got scary angry when I refused. I had to run. That's actually why I don't wear heels on the first few dates. Sometimes you gotta run. I love asks like these because it gives my dense ass a great guide of what not to do when talking to the opposite sex. The key is thinking of women as people just like you, with as rich and full internal lives as you and their own likes and dislikes just like you. Women are the protagonists of the stories of their own lives, just like men. They aren't there to be men's sidekicks or orgasm delivery devices or ego props. That so many men don't seem to recognize this I blame on popular media. You'll notice that really hardcore incels deny this. They will go so far as to outright state that women don't have feelings or internal lives like men. Of course, this is in direct, absolute, undeniable contradiction to their batshit evil belief that women live to coerce and trick men into giving up their hard-earned cash. For what? So they can sit around and stare at the walls. That's because, I think, they know how frankly sociopathic they are. and it's easier for them to pretend that their victims aren't really human than to accept the fact that they are abusing real people, or, in TLDR form, women aren't NPCs. Thank you for watching. If you want to support me, check out my Patreon through the link in the description. If the video slapped, be sure to hit that thumbs up, and subscribe for videos every single day. See you tomorrow.